Hey, Randy Joe here, and this is 1001 Reviews, the series where I plan on reviewing every album from the 1000 Albums Listened to Before You Die book. And today we're looking at the Go-Go's 1981 album, Beauty and the Beat. Now, Beauty and the Beat was released underneath the IRS label, produced by R. Gottenreier with R. Freeman, art direction various with nationality USA, and a running time of 35 minutes and 31 seconds. This will most likely be my shortest video because I'm going to get right to the point and say that I did not care for this album pretty much one bit. I was kind of let down by this thing, considering I do know the hits from this album, but at the end of the day, the hits are really the only thing that make this album. And by hits, I mean specifically We Got the Beat. So I don't really want to sit here and waste my time going into each and every track, examining them and explaining what I don't like about it, other than saying the fact that most of this is pretty basic and uninteresting new wave pop punk music from the early 80s, and most of what you hear on this album has already been done to much greater extents by previous artists. Specifically, much of this album reminds me of listening to X-Ray Spex with their album Germ-Free Adolescence, but at least with that one, you get a much more interesting and cohesive album that has a lot more to offer in its runtime than this album seems to. Because throughout most of this album, I find it to be pretty disappointing and pretty run-of-the-mill kind of pop music from the early 80s. But like I said, there were a couple of tracks that I do want to discuss on here, and those are the two tracks We Got the Beat and Automatic, which obviously We Got the Beat is the hit for the Go-Go's. It is their one-hit wonder, I guess some would say, and for a good reason. It is a fantastic track with incredible drumming that really keeps the beat going, and throughout this song the energy is consistently maintained and has an upbeat overall aesthetic that really brings out the strengths of the Go-Go's. It's the most fun track on here and has the most versatility in its short 2-minute runtime, and really feels like a much more well put together and layered track throughout this album. Most of this album feels as if it is just kind of bland and repetitive. You hear most of the same things over and over that you've heard in most of the songs kind of repeated throughout this runtime, and I think We Got the Beat at least has a bit more going for it than the other tracks on here. Another track that at least stands out as something unique and original in this album is the song Automatic, which I think is definitely a detour for the Go-Go's in this album and stands out as a much stronger track. It's much slower and much more well developed. It feels like a very slow climbing, almost menacing tone that feel like a nice stylistic shift for the Go-Go's and is much more interesting than anything on this album. The slow delivery of the lyrics with each and every beat as it kind of just continuously builds up is really the greatest factor for this track. But like I said, those are the only two good songs I would say that are on this album, and I don't really see a reason in why I should sit here and try to explain why this album is such a letdown for me, other than saying that it just feels as if most of what's on here has been done before. I've heard all of this. I think new wave has been done better than this. I think pop punk has been better than this, and I think all of that put together has been done better by, for example, the X-Ray Spex, which I know the Go-Go's has the whole female band thing going for it, but I think, for example, X-Ray Spex has the female vocalist who is fantastic in there, Pauly Styrene, as well as Pretenders, also another pretty decent artist who has a much better and more interesting vocalist as well, and also does the pop punk new wave aesthetic better than the Go-Go's. So again, I don't really feel like this is that great, that unique, and is definitely not that needed in this book. With that all being said, the soft rating of this album came to a 6 out of 10, and I will go ahead and harden that down to a 5.5. And also, this album being something that you would have already heard at this point in time of this book, if you went chronologically, you would have heard this done, like I said, better and more interesting. So with that being said, again, it's not essential. It gets an NE for not essential. Anyways, that pretty much does it for this review. I know it was short, but I thought I would just get right to the point and not waste my time trying to say that it's just a meh kind of album. So let's go ahead and see what the next album we're listening to is in the 1000 albums to listen to before you die book. All right, random number generator, 1 to 1001, generate 404. 404 being the album, 404 being the adverts Crossing the Red Sea with the adverts. So go ahead and give that a listen, and I'll review that in exactly 1 week from now. Anyways, if you like this video, please hit like and subscribe if you want to follow along and listen to every album from the 1000 albums to listen to before you die book. And as always, my name is Randy Joe, and I am signing off.